Hi, welcome to the first part of our fourth lesson, entitled Drama, Words in Action. You might have heard the expression, "Oh, you're just being dramatic," which suggests several meanings. It could be that you're exaggerating your story, or you're being too emotional about it, or you're simply boasting. In other words, your story sounds doubtful to the listener. It's also common to watch actors dramatizing actual events on a television show or reenacting them for presentation purposes. But you may find it undramatic, which means it is unexcitingly and boring. When we say it is dull and boring, we are actually looking for something that has vim and vigor, excitement and energy, passion and pleasure. In other words, we want some action. Action is drama. It originated from the Greek word "dron", which means to act or to do. Fictionists convey their stories through narration. A poem needs to be read aloud. A drama is primarily written for acting. Instead of reading, we watch a drama in a viewing place called the theater or the stage. Like drama, theater also came from the Greek word theasthai, meaning to behold or to see. Actually, we are all familiar with acting. We have done acting since birth. Parents usually coach an infant to smile, or to play close open with their hand, to say mom or dad. A baby that does it well is much admired and applauded just like an actor on the stage. Instead of telling, drama shows the action, before the stage of spectators' imagination. In drama, the reader is practically watching words come alive. You can say that in drama, all words become verbs or action words. In this case, language not only describes, tells, informs, recites, or reports. It also makes us do. Success of the speech acts depends on the addressee or the audience acceptance of the speaker's intention. As in drama, the role of the audience is the key to the staging of the drama. A drama necessarily requires an audience, and the theater provides them the venue for a united act. Now, what are the elements of drama? The elements of the drama are as follows. We have the plot, the characters, the setting, the dialogue, the theme, and performance. The plot talks about how and why things happen, what characters do, and what happens to the characters. While the characters are the people whose stories are being told, it is the actions of the characters. It talks about the characterization, the protagonist, and the antagonist. The setting talks about where the action happens, in a place, a time, the atmosphere, the mood, or the social context. While the dialogue are the characters talking to each other or to the audience. It shows the personality of the characters. It stirs up the plot and communicates message to the audience. Next is the theme, or the point the playwright is trying to make. The theme shows us the social issues tackled in the story, as well as makes the audience understand an issue or idea. And the last one is the performance, or the presentation itself in front of a live audience. It is the playwright's intentions and the audience interpretation. The dramatist is also known as a playwright, a scriptwriter, or a screenwriter. In the theater or on the screen of television and cinema, we watch a drama unfold. What about dramas heard on the radio? The Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw called radio dramas as invisible plays. In a radio drama, the ears become the eyes of the listeners, and the audience listener becomes a clairvoyant because his or her imagination supplies the visuals of what is heard. A conventional dramatist works on the stage space. The radio dramatist engrosses the audience listener through soundscapes. The playwright draws on plot, character, setting, and dialogue to stage a performance that deals with a particular issues or to illuminate an idea. An idea is a product of the mind. It is abstract or intangible and is subject to differing interpretations or misinterpretations. Good or evil, freedom or oppression, reform or progress are examples of ideas often explored in a drama. Let us remember that plot, character, setting, dialogue, and theme are the formal elements of drama. They became unified when the drama is finally performed on stage in a theater. Understanding these elements enhance your appreciation of drama and supply you with a basic vocabulary for writing one. As in fiction or poetry, you are also creating a story through drama. The plot structurally arranges the events in the story. Your imagination may conjure 1,000 possible events, but you must only select those that number 1 convey the meaning of the story. 2. Stimulate the intended audience reaction. And 3. Can be understood within 2 hours of performance. By observing the following elements of the plot, you can filter and select the most important events of the story. Let's talk about the structural elements of a dramatic plot. We have here the leading character, or the primary person in the plot, the inciting incident, or the event that destabilizes the leading character, the objective, which is the leading character's reason to restore the stability, the obstacle, or the some forces that hinder the leading character's goals, the crisis, wherein the leading character decides to rise above the obstacle, the climax, wherein the leading character confronts obstacles and either succeeds or fails, and the resolution, where the creation of a new stable situation is caused by the climax. Let's try to break down each and every one of it. Let's start with the leading character, or the protagonist. From the Greek pro, or the speaker, and agon, which means debate, came the word protagonist. He or she takes the lead in a contest or debate. In a drama or novel, the protagonist acts as the leading character. The protagonist carries the weight and substance of the plot. As such, he or she should physically appear on the stage. And as the leading character, the protagonist must satisfy the following criteria. Number 1. Able to make decisions and act upon them. Number 2. Endowed with options, physical or mental strength. Number 3. Able to deal with the inciting incident. And number 4. Serves to demonstrate the writer's point of view. The inciting incident defines the leading character's objectives or goal that will restore stability to his or her life. It also reveals some background information and characterization that will make understandable the conflict caused by the inciting incident or the exposition. It should also define the beginning, middle, and end of the story. It lays out the scene where at the end of the story, the leading character is shown to have either succeeded or failed in achieving the objective to restore stability and balance to his or her life. And it must be established before or right after the story begins. Next is the objective. The objective or the desire and want of the leading character. In drama, as in real life, we want or yearn for something. Our daily routine, which provides regularity and stability to our lives, is actually devoted to fulfilling our wants and desires. We eat to satisfy hunger, but we also eat to gratify a craving for some food. Thus, we eat even when we are not hungry. Then something happens, an inciting incident that prevents you from eating what you want. Drama should have characters who have desires, wants, and needs, and who will act. The objectives in drama must 1. Be concrete, specific, and tangible for the audience comprehension and the actor's competent performance. An objective that is too general will stall the action of the leading character. For example, I want some peace is general and abstract. However, if you will say that I want the war to stop and all weapons confiscated in the name of peace, it became specific and concrete. Next, number 2. Objectives in a drama must convey a sense of urgency, which means the character must act now without delay and further ado. This heightens the sense of action as well as the audience attention. And last is, objectives must be constructed in a way that allows the leading characters to experience obstacles. Now, what are the obstacles? The obstacles are the forces that prevent the leading character from fulfilling the objectives. Obstacles arise out of conflict, which expose opposing forces of ideas, personal interests, or willpower. The conflict intensifies the presence of obstacles, which also builds up audience interest. For example, you're hungry. You check the kitchen if the food is already cooked. It is. You open the pot, but your mother suddenly appears, and she tells you it is not yet time to eat. You beg, but she will hear none of it. You act like you're dying to emphasize your feeling of hunger, but your mother merely laughs at you. In the meantime, suspense is building up among the audience. What will convince the mother to allow her child to eat? Should the child do something drastic? Perhaps the audience is starting to feel pity for the child and anger at the mother. Obstacles not only build suspense and heighten attention on the part of the audience, they also establish the emotional connection between characters and the audience. We feel an empathy with the characters because we recognize their pain, sufferings, or joy as our own. We feel sympathetic toward them because we understand their situation. Thus, our sense of compassion or sorrow is awakened. And there are two kinds of obstacles in a drama. The first one is the internal obstacle that arises from the character's heart, mind, or body, such as fear, guilt, physical or mental disability. The second one is the external obstacle that arises from the forces outside or beyond the leading character's control, such as a wicked person, a calamity, a disaster, or even a monster. The next one is the crisis, or the moment when the leading character makes a final decision. The crisis is a predicament that arises from the options or choices from the leading character. The options, either equally good or bad, put the leading character in a crisis. Will she marry the person she loves so much or stay in the comforts of convenience of being unmarried? Will the child continue to fight the mother to get food instantly or will he wait for the proper time to eat? The crisis is also called the showdown because it puts the leading character in an intense situation that forces him or her to make a final choice. It's one or the other, now or never, to be or not to be. The final choice ultimately decides whether objectives of the leading characters will be fulfilled or not. The crisis decisions are immediately acted upon by the leading character. It also leads to climactic confrontation with the obstacles and conveyed through the combined use of mental and physical action. Second to the last is the climax, or the toughest confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic forces. The climax is the final showdown between the leading character and the forces hostile to his or her goals. It determines the outcome of the conflict provoked by the inciting incident. It is a crucial moment when one side of the conflict wins or loses. The climax only needs a brief description and minimal explanation. It is the story's grand finale and ultimately depends on the strength of the characterization, clarity of the inciting incident, obstacles, and crisis. It also conveys the idea of reversal of fortune on the part of the protagonist. He or she moves from a good to a bad situation or from a bad situation to a good one. Next up, we have the resolution, or the impact of the climax on the life of the characters. In French, resolution is known as denouement. Here, matters are further explained. Occurring right after the climax and approaching the end of the story, the resolution allows the audience to firmly grasp the significance of the outcome of the climax, and the climax to bring the characters to a changed situation. The resolution provides a decisive conclusion to the conflict or crisis not generally seen in real life. It also gives the audience an idea of the positive or negative impact of the climax on the characters, as well as provides the audience with necessary time to compose their thoughts and feelings after witnessing an intense fight or struggle during the climax. And it provides the story with a sense of closure or completion. Now, the question is, how do we end a drama? Should it be sad or happy? Traditionally, endings in a drama are either comedy or tragedy, happy or sad. A play that ends happy is considered a comedy. It does not necessarily mean that it was a funny play. Most of the time, we love to see a happy ending. Comedy is the Greek's descriptive term for plays that stimulate laughter. It portrays the rise to good fortune of the leading character, while tragedy applies to plays with unhappy endings. It does not necessarily mean shedding a bucket full of tears. The opposite of comedy, tragedy depicts the ruin and disgrace of the leading character due to some mistake or bad decisions. Now, let's go back to the question of what should be the ending of a drama? Should it be sad or happy? Well, that depends on what do you want as the author for the readers or the audience to feel. If you want the audience to feel happy at the end of the play, then I suggest that you go for comedy. While in the other hand, if you want your audience to weep and cry at their seats at the end of the story, then I suggest you to go to tragedy. I do hope that you get all of the things that we've discussed for this moment, since we will now go to our activities. For your first activity, On a short bond paper, write a 100-word plot of a story entitled The Boy with No Name. Once again, on a short bond paper, write a 100-word plot of a story entitled The Boy with No Name. Next up, we have this performance task number 1. In a short bond paper, write a draft of a short literary piece. Could be fiction, poetry, or drama. Further announcements will be given to you tomorrow. Once again, further announcements will be given tomorrow. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching till the end of our discussion. I do hope that you have a great time completing the activities that I've given to you. Good luck and God bless. Bye bye.